I cannot stress enough on the importance of making notes, but at the same time, it is extremely important to understand how to make the right notes. Just copying down whatever is mentioned in the textbook in a small notebook is not what you call notes. You are just wasting time by doing that. So before we discuss how to make notes, let's understand why is it important to have notes in the first place. When I was preparing for my entrance, I did not have notes for every subject. I had made notes for a few topics. Ideally, you should have notes for every subject. And why this helps? Because when you have made notes in the right way, it is not just any random information, but a compilation of all the important and high yield topics in a concise way, which make repeated revisions less time consuming. How? Because when you sit down to study every chapter, each time you don't have to go through the entire chapter again. You just have to go through a few pages from your notes and you are done. And that is what is required, because from an exam point of view, everything from every chapter is not important. Certain topics are frequently asked and that is what you need to master. Practically, it is not possible for us to study everything. So we need to study more of what has a high probability of being asked. Now, how do you make notes? First, you need to go through the chapter once thoroughly. You need to understand all the concepts. You need to understand everything that is mentioned in the chapter. Then, during the second reading is when you start making the notes. So the first reading is going to be extensive. For example, if I'm studying ultrasound in electrotherapy, first I will go through that entire chapter. I will understand everything that is mentioned, and the second time when I do it, the second time when I read that chapter is when I'll start making the notes. And while making the notes, it is important that I have a list of all the important questions from that topic that have been asked. So I should have all the questions that have been asked from ultrasound in the past year question papers. Because as I have said earlier, everything from that chapter is not important. The questions that have been frequently asked give us an idea of what is likely to be asked in the future. And that is what we need to master. That is what we need to read again and again. So that will go in our notes. So for that, it is important that you have the past year question bank. And after that, you start jotting down in a concise way all the information that is required. I'll show you how I had made my notes. So this is from ultrasound. Now in this I have concised the entire chapter in these 2 pages. So every time I sit down to study ultrasound, I don't have to go through the entire chapter from Clayton. If you know, there are a lot of pages, but after the notes have been made, it is just these 2 pages. So I have written the indications, contraindications, dangers, then the techniques of application, effect of ultrasound on tissues. So all the effects have been jotted down over here. Then next is the table. This is the percentage transmission of every couplant. Now I have written this table in the notes. Why? Because this is something that is frequently asked in the past year questions. Now if you go through the ultrasound chapter in the Clayton, there are a lot of tables given, but why have I put only this particular table in the notes? Because this is something that is frequently asked. So it is important that you know the percentage transmission of every couplant. Now at the side I have also mentioned a mnemonic, because it is difficult to remember the value with the couplant. So that is how you write down things in a way which will be useful for you to remember this information. Then I have written down a few formulas which I think was important and can be asked. Then this is the construction of ultrasound. Then I have written down certain other things. So this is all that is important, and only this much is required for you to study in ultrasound. Similarly, I had made this for UVR as well. So this is about UVR. Again, in this I have written down the contraindications, indications, the dangers, then the construction of the lamp. Then this table, again a lot of tables are given in UVR in Clayton, but I have jotted down this one because this is something that is frequently asked. Then the physiological effects, and that is it. So I hope you understand why is it important to have notes, because the information is in as concise fashion as possible, and I have put down all the important and high yield topics. These are the topics that you cannot miss, and these are the topics that need to be revised again and again. And one more important thing, if you're buying notes, if you're getting them from your seniors, it is extremely important to understand that they are not useful unless they are made in this format. If your notes don't cover the important and high yield topics, they are not important. And it is therefore important that each one of you sit down and make your own notes. That is what is going to help.